And so if we talk about coronavirus, according to this website, so none of these, it might not be true, 94,000 cases of coronavirus. Okay? Now, it's 94 cases of coronavirus so far. How many? And there are 7,700,000,000 people on Earth.
Wow.
Okay? So what I want to do is figure out what percent of people currently have coronavirus. How would I do that? What would I do to figure out the percent of people that have coronavirus?
You check how much.
Use division, right? You take the number of people that you have infected, which is 94,000, okay? And you divide it by 7,700,000,000 people, okay? This fraction, this ratio that we've talked about, will give you that number, all right? So go ahead, plug that into your calculator, and let's get a decimal approximation for this. So after I divide these two numbers, okay, so what I got after, can you guys type in that many digits on your calculator? 94,000 divided by 7,700,000,000. You end up getting this. You get 0.1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 2. All right. So this is the ratio of people that have coronavirus, those of the total population. Okay. How would I turn this into a percent? What would I have to do to turn this into a percent? It's not a percent yet. What do we do to turn this into a percent? Correct. So now, the percentage of people, humans, that have the coronavirus is this: 0.00122%. Great question. Why do you have to move the decimal place? It's out of 100. Okay? So what we've done is we've done this, and we've created a proportion, basically, is you're trying to find the number out of 100, okay? You guys know when you download a song or something like that, or an app, and you can see the percentage of what's going, right? That's out of 100, okay? You know how on the battery on your phone, how it can tell you the percentage of battery that's remaining? It's a number out of 100, okay? So a percentage is a number that's out of 100. Yes?
I do want to point out that there are more dangerous diseases out there.
There sure are. Malaria.
2018, there were an estimated 228 million cases of malaria, which turns out to be about, if you assume that the total world population is 7.7 billion, and I did all my math correctly, almost 3% of all humans
Had malaria.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is pretty small. Take it for what you will. These are the numbers. Now, if you're an educated human and the media is freaking you out because The coronavirus is everywhere. And, you know, it is a legitimate concern. However, 0.00122% of people have coronavirus. Okay?
Doesn't mean you can't get it.
No, for sure. But it's also a very small percentage of people. Now, like you said, what's scary about this? The rate at which people are getting coronavirus. So let's talk about that. All right, so let's talk about various percentages that you see in the real world before we start on these problems, okay? This is a real world example, okay? I'm going to talk about interest, okay? Let's say, for example, that I need to borrow $100. Okay, so Joe needs, let's say $1,000. Okay, for something I need to buy. Okay, so Joe goes to the bank and borrows $1,000. Okay, and the bank we'll call Jim. Okay, so I go to Jim and I say, Jim, I need $1,000. Jim gives me the $1,000. Okay, so Jim loans $1,000, but Joe has to pay it back. In 60 days at, let's say, 3% interest. This is how banks make money, okay? So, how much do I then owe Jim at the end of 60 days is the question. Is it 1,000? No, it wouldn't be. So here's how you do this. What you want to do is I take the $1,000, right? And I know that in 60 days I'll have more than $1,000, but I need the money right now, okay? And so what I do is I then say, I need to take 3% of 1,000. Does anybody know how to take 3% of 1,000? What you do is you take 3% and you turn it into a decimal. Okay, remember 3% is really just 3 out of 100.
Isn't it 30?
No, that 30 would be 30. 3 is 3. Okay, so what I would then do is I take the number 3, here's my decimal place, and I move it 2 places to the left.
Is it always going to be 2?
Yep. Always. Good question. So really what I have is I have 0.03, and I take that number and I multiply it by 1,000. All right, whatever that is. I don't think it comes out nice and neat. Maybe it does, but I don't think so. 0.03 times 1,000. Yeah, $30, just like you said. Yeah. So, $30. This is my interest. Okay, this is what I have to pay Jim back. So the total that I owe is the total owed to Jim, the bank, is $1,000 that I borrowed plus the $30 in interest. So that's how Jim makes money. $1,030 total. Okay? The point is that if you were to go out in the world and be like, oh, I'm going to borrow money, and they're like, yeah, you got to pay 17% interest if you don't get it back to us in a timely manner. Some of them may automatically just charge you interest for just giving you the money. And that's how people get in trouble. And that's how they get broke. They're like, oh, cool, free money. All right? So anywho, that's how not only interest works, and you can have interest work for you. If you have a bank account and you put it in the bank, you can earn interest. I earn about $40 a month by having a checking account or a savings account, roughly. Sometimes that money grows, sometimes it's bigger, sometimes it's smaller, depends on the economy, but it's a flexible annual percentage rate, okay? So what it does is it can work for you, it can work against you, yada, yada, yada. The big thing I want you to see is that if you're taking a percentage of a number, you multiply the decimal by said number, okay? So now, what I want you guys to do, I gave you that little piece of paper, all right? You'll want a calculator. And what I'm going to do is I want you guys to try these problems, all right? I'm going to give you 3 minutes per problem to do these, and I'm going to do them as well. So we're going to go through them just like we did on Monday. 3 minutes, try the problem, go over the problem, start the next one, okay? So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to start this. Starting now. How many of you got C as your answer on the first one? We get it? 23 people? Okay. Did you guys all put 30? Oh, wait. I misread it. Because the second day, no, it's B, it's 10. We good? I thought it was 30, then I thought it was 23. What I didn't read was the number of students in the seminar on the second day was 15. I thought that was the first day. And then the 50% increase from that. Okay? So how do you do this one? This one's kind of weird.
You have to take 50% from the first. You have to figure out what the starting amount.
Uh-huh.
10, and then add that. I didn't know that you had to do that.
Yeah, so if you do 50%, and this is one I kind of had to look at the answers. Yeah, how did you do it?
Well, I kind of just figured it out, but I think to do this, what you could do is take the second day, right?
Uh-huh.
Trying to take away 50% of that. So, second day is 150%, right?
Uh-huh.
And that 150% is a new 100%. 50% is a third of 150%, right?
Right.
So you need to take a third of that new 100%, that 15.
And then double it.
Yeah, you could do that, or you could just subtract a third.
Right. Yeah, this one's kind of tricky. This one's a little weird. This one you need, if you didn't have the answers, this would be a little tricky. Okay? But use your answers. It's multiple choice. All right, if you take 50%, 0.5 of 10, you get 5. Half of 10 is 5. Okay? Add that to the original amount, and that gives you a total of 15, which is what you're looking for. All right? So that's the number you're looking for on that one. Yeah, I thought it was 23 because I thought that this was the first day. Read the question. It happens. Okay. Question 2, 3 minutes. Let's go. Did we get B?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get B. I kind of got close to the answer.
Okay.
The estimate.
Sure.
And then I just
Yeah. So, anybody want to talk about how they went about this one?
I just took 3.8 billion and then multiplied it by 0.31.
Wait. Say, what did you do? You did 3.8?
So the question was that 3.8 billion gallons of water I used for domestic use per day.
Uh-huh.
Approximately how many gallons of water I used for irrigation per day.
Right.
So I took the 3.8 billion
Yeah.
and multiplied it by 0.31.
Why'd you do that? Because here's the thing. This, over on this side, and that's okay if that's what you did. Categories for water usage, okay? And this is per day. And this is all the different things that use water and at what percentage of the water they use. All right? So the domestic use is 1%. All right? And 3.8 billion gallons are used, but this is only 1%. All right? 1%. Okay? Then how many gallons would be used for irrigation? That's 31. So if you did 0.31, 0.31 times 3.8 gives you 1.178.
I can't remember how we got it, but I did get 118.
Yeah. And I think if you do 3.8 times 31, yeah, you get something close to that. You don't get the right answer. Did anybody set up a proportion? Let me show you how I set up this proportion, okay? Because here's what I know. If I have 3.8 billion, okay, I'm trying to figure out what's my total, okay? If I take 3.8 and divide it by my total amount, it will give me 0.01, which is 1%. 1% is equal to 0.01 as a number, okay? Now, the other thing that you can do, so that's one way of doing it. The other way that I would do this is I would take 1% is merely 1 out of 100. Okay? So then what I would do is I would cross multiply to solve this proportion. X times 1 is X. 3.8 times 100 is 380 billion gallons. This is the total water usage. Okay? From there, what I did was I then took 31% for irrigation of 380. So if you do then 0.31 times 380, you get 117.8. So then 0.31, finding 31% of 380 gives you 117.8, which would then round up to 118. Okay? Okay. So that's how I went about that. All right. Let's take a look at as long as you're getting it right and you're legitimately getting it right, I don't care. All right? If you're making the numbers work, that's what's the point.
I'm just confused on why this one wasn't 3.8 times 31.
Because if you do 3.8 times 31, well, that gives you 117.8.
I'm just kidding. That exactly is. Yeah.
If that's how you did it, that's okay. It works out. The reason why that works is because it's 1%.
Yeah, I know.
If it was another number, then it would be something different. You would have to do something else. It works out nice and neat because it's worth 1%. Okay, try the question 3. 20 people.
Is 20 people wrong or right?
20 is right.
Okay, cool. So I did it right.
Huh? 800 divided by 40 is 20. Yeah. How many, did you set up the proportion? Because you're looking for, if you take 8 divided by the number of people, that gives you 40 out of 100. Okay? cross multiply, and you get 40x equals 8 times 100, which is 800. Divide by 40, divide by 40, so then x is equal to 20. Okay? Did anybody do it differently? And want to talk about it? All I'm doing is setting up proportions. All right? Okay. Try number 4. The answer is D. Okay? So, Movie Fanatic has amassed a giant collection of home movies, some on DVD and the others on older VHS cassette mode. If the Fanatic has 308 movies on DVD, which comprises of 31.3% of the total collection, how many total movies are there in the collection? So what I did was I did 308, take that number and divide it by the total, which we don't know. Okay, that's my x. That's going to be 31.3 out of 100. Is there another way that you guys did this?
Yeah, but I don't know if it's valid or not.
Well, it's okay. Let's let Bremer go first, and then we'll see what you did.
I did the same thing as you did, but I do want to point out that on this question, for example, just looking at the answers, there's only really one that makes much sense, because 2 of them are smaller than the 31%.
Yep.
The second one is just double that.
Right. Very good.
In some cases, you can just eliminate
Yeah.
one of the questions.
I mean, understanding, 30, yeah, that's great. It's a great observation. Okay. If, 1/3 is 33%. Okay, roughly. So then, you know that this number, if it's proportional, has to be A, larger than 308, so you can get rid of these 2. And then thinking about, like, if you did 308, and you could just sit here and do this. You could do 308 and divide it by 676. And if you do that, let's see what you get. 308 divided by 676. That's 45%. Okay? But if you did 308 and you divided it by 984, that's 31.3%. Okay? Either way. How'd you do it, Sarah?
So there's like 308 movies,
Uh-huh.
So if I add that together, then it's 60-something%. And I figure that 600 and something is 60% of 984. Like, because.
Yeah.
So then it has to be 984.
Well, right, but think of it like this. What would be 300 divided by 900? What would that be? Huh? No. It'd be 33%. Okay? So you could, and it's one, it'd be, I think the difference is that all these numbers are all completely different. If you had numbers like 912, 927, those kinds of numbers, then it'd be like, all right, yeah, I'd have to actually do the math. But you can look at this. If you have the number sense of what a percent is and what it means, you don't have to do any, you could really just look at this. You don't have to do any math and just answer it as D. Okay? So that is a tactic. It's all about understanding the problem. What's it asking you? Do you understand percents? Okay? Try the last one real quick. How many of you guys got D as your answer? Okay? So, if you're doing 1.5% and 0.6%, that's a total of 2.1%. Okay? So then turn that into a number, that's 0.021. You multiply that by 14,000. And you end up getting 294. You could do that. But if you were to do that, it'd be x over 14,000 equals 2.1 over 100 is the proportion you would have to set up. Okay? If you're setting that up, you just got to make sure you solve it right.